It's very easy to use. It's very easy to navigate. It's just kind of like a drag and drop. And I hope you guys are hearing me well, actually. Also, I forgot to mention that I'm from Kenya. I know that majority of us are from Nigeria. So I'm from Kenya, and I hope to interact with you guys a lot and get to know more about you, even during our sessions. Feel free to reach out if you don't understand any any perspective that I might be sharing. If you don't understand, feel free to reach out. And now I'll start by sharing my screen so that we can have a deeper analysis to understand what is Looker Studio. So let me share my screen. Okay, I created a simple guide that I'll be sharing with you guys later. This is the today's training. Today, I hope we'll cover module 1, module 2, or maybe up to module 3, depending on how time will allow us. However, we can start with introduction to Looker Studio. So Looker Studio was formerly known as Google Data Studio. I'm sure some of you maybe know it as Google Data Studio, but it was updated to Looker Studio. So we no longer refer it to Google Data Studio. And also it's a very free platform where you can go and visualize and analyze your data and share them. Also, the good thing with Looker Studio is that it's a web-based tool. So you don't need to like download any software or, sorry, do we have a question? Yes, you can go ahead, Legacy. Legacy, we can't hear you if you're speaking. Okay, he muted. Okay, if you have a question, just you can type it on the chat because we can't hear you, Legacy. Okay, I will continue. As I was saying, Looker Studio is a web-based tool, so you don't need to like download any software or download anything to use it. You just need to
Yeah, I can't hear
go
you,
to the
so
website
it's always
link,
the
which is the lookerstudio. You can see my screen. Anyone else who is not seeing my screen as well? Are you guys able to view my screen?
Yes, yes, I can.
yes, yes.
Then that means Legacy maybe, can you see it now? Oh, okay. Legacy, if you have
Yeah, yeah,
issues,
yeah.
maybe it's probably your internet, you can try to refresh the link so that you're able to view it. Okay. So for us to access Looker Studio, you just need to go to, you can search a studio. Let me search it so that you guys see. And once you search it, you see, we already have it here. So you just need to sign in. Mine, since I have already signed in with my account, it will not allow me to go through the sign-in process, but you just need to sign in with your Google account and that's it. You will have this particular view. And if you're new to Looker Studio, because mine, you can see it has a little, someone has a question? Oh, okay. Okay, mine has a lot of projects that I've been doing. That's why we see these reports here. But if you're new to Looker Studio, your dashboard should appear like this. It shouldn't have any reports or anything because you're just new. As you can see, this appears because these are the recent files that I've been working with. But if you have no file that you've been working with because you're just new to Looker Studio, it will appear blank. So in general, this is the first this is the first page that we'll encounter after we have signed up with Looker Studio. We have someone with a question? Mute your mic. Anyone with a question? Okay. Well, so I guess I've covered how you can log into Looker Studio. You just need, it's a simple, you just need to search for Looker Studio, sign in, and that's it. You will have this particular view. So once you sign in, for you to create a report, you can either choose a template, either of these templates, or you can choose a blank report by clicking this plus, or you can choose to click on this plus that says create. So once you click on create, you will see it will give you an option of creating a new report. Creating a data source, it means that you're going to add a new data source. So for us, we want to create a report. So let me just click on a blank report for now. As it loads, for this one, I think we can understand better when we have when we have the report already. So let me just go to module 2, whereby when we are going to understand how to create a report. That's what I've just demonstrated. For you to start a new report from the Looker Studio homepage, click create, then reports. So as you can see, we already clicked the create button, and this is the page that it directed us to. So once you click create a blank report, you are given an option to add a data source. So you can choose a data source from various options. We have the Google Sheets, we have the Microsoft Excel, we have the CSV file upload, we have BigQuery. So we have a variety of options depending on the type of data that you're dealing with. We even have MySQL. Personally, I have more experience working with Google Sheets because I tend to see that any update that is made, it appears real time. So I prefer working with Google Sheets a lot because also that's what we use at my company. So for now, I'll just use Google Sheets. So I'll select Google Sheets. So once you click on the type of data source that you want, let me go back and try to select maybe Microsoft Excel. You will see it will give you an option to add a new file. This appears because I had tried to add some files previously, but I can have an option of creating a new, and then you just upload the file, and that will be it. But now I want us to use the Google Sheet because that's what I'm more familiar with. So I will just go ahead and click on Google Sheets. And then the data source that you're going to try to create a sample report with is this coffee sales shop. So I'm going to click on it. So once you click on that particular spreadsheet that you want to work with, so these are just some of the spreadsheets that I have within my draft because it refers to all the, if you're using a Google Sheet, it refers to all the types of data that you have saved within your Google Drive. So if I click on the coffee sales shop, you see it has given me this particular worksheet. So as you can see, we currently have only, this is the data source. So we only have one particular sheet on this particular data source. If I want to add another sheet, I can just add it and maybe rename it. And if I refresh here, you will see that it will give me two options. Let me just refresh that so that you're able to see that. But I'm telling you that I love working with Google Sheet because it gives me real-time updates. So as you can see, we are back to that particular page, Google Sheets. So I'm gonna add my coffee sales shop data. We have a question. Yes, Janet?
Yeah, sorry, please, your screen is quite tiny.
It's tiny.
Your fonts are not bold, so I can't see what you're doing well.
Okay, let me see how I can increase it. Is that better?
Yeah, this better.
Okay, let's increase it a little more. Okay, so I guess this is better. So as you can see, previously we only had one worksheet, but since I added a new sheet, we already have the other sheet. But now I want only to work with this particular sheet that I want to add to our data source. So I'm gonna just click add. But before you are given these options, whether to use the first row as your header. If not, you can choose to select whether the column headers must be unique. You also have an option to select whether to include hidden or filter. Also, okay, seems my internet is a little bit unstable. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Yes, we can hear you.
So it's my internet that's an issue. Give me a few minutes to sort this out. Okay, my report loaded. So as you can see, we have this pop-up that you're about to add data to these reports, and it has the name of the data, which is the coffee sales shop, and the worksheet that I'm adding, which is the coffee shop sales. So you can choose to not show you this again whenever you're adding reports, data to the reports, because else if you don't select this option, it will always pop up. So I'm gonna click add to reports. So as you can see, the data is here. It appears on the left. Is it right or left? Okay, I'm not sure. But this side, it appears on this particular side. So as you can see, we have the data coffee sales shop, and we have all the columns that we have in our particular data. So this is what we have. And then if you want to check on properties, so this one we can only be able to, sorry, someone has a question? I can't see your screen because I'm seeing my phone. I think this meeting is being recorded, right? So that you can have a recording later. Okay, so what was I doing? Okay, so yeah, here we have our data on this particular side. So our data source appears here. You can choose to add a field. So adding a field, this we will review all this later. You can choose to add a perimeter or add a data. And then here we have untitled reports. So for us to update the name of our reports, we have to click there and then update the name of the report, which will, in this case will be coffee sales shop. So we've updated the name of our reports. So today I want us first to familiarize with the interface for Looker Studio. So in this case, we have file. On the file option, we have an option to select our theme. So here, if you want maybe to just complete a report, maybe you have a very short deadline, you want to complete a report very fast, you can quickly just select any of the themes available and the layout and start to create your report. So in this case, maybe you can select depending on your color choice, or you can choose to customize. So when you customize here, you can choose to select the report background color, the font color, everything. So you can customize this according to your taste. And then here we have the report settings. Under the report settings, sometimes you can add a filter that can apply to the whole report. So when you add a filter for this whole report, for instance, we want, when you come to this particular data source, for instance, we want this report to be only for the store location for Lower Manhattan, that particular location. So you can create a general filter that will be applied in this particular report. And so the presentation that you'll be having, it will be just for that particular specific location. And then for Google Maps and everything, this is when you want maybe to be more accurate in regards to the location, or you want to a specific location, you can add the API key for that particular location, and then the data will be strictly based on that particular location. So the next one, we have the version history. You can always also, just the same way like Google Sheets, we have the version history. You can always also revisit the version history on Looker Studio. So that is a very good thing, because at least you're able to retrace back your steps. And then for publishing settings, you can always select on who you want to share your report with. For instance, when I click share here, I can be able to restrict my report. For instance, currently it's restricted. Strictly only people that are added on this particular report can be able to view this particular report. Else I can have it as unlisted or public, or I can share it with other people's Gmail accounts if I want them to be. You see, we have an option of being a viewer and an editor. So if I want someone else to edit this report, I have to add their Gmail account over here, and then I select the option of being an editor, and they will be able to edit this particular report. If you are a viewer, you will just be you will only be able to see this particular screen. You cannot edit. But if you are an editor, you'll be able to see this option where you can edit, and then now you can be able to make changes to that particular report. And also, if you want to create a new report, you can just create there. If you want to make a copy, for instance, maybe you found a particular Looker Studio dashboard somewhere, or maybe on the internet, and in most cases, you won't be able to edit those reports because they have been locked. You are only able to view. You can make a copy, and then you will be able to edit. So you always have that option of making a copy. You can also download it as PDF or embed it. After that, these are the options to edit. The good thing with Looker Studio is that you can copy a particular report. For instance, I can come, let me open one of the sample reports I have over here. Okay, give me a minute to switch my internet to a different one. Oh, it's connected. Yeah, so I hope you guys can hear me well still. Are we together, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Can hear
thank
you.
you. So for instance, let's say I want to, let me open this particular project. So I want to copy this report as it is. Let me minimize it a little bit so that we can have a better view. So this is one of my clients' dashboard. So for instance, I want to copy, I am too lazy. I don't want to edit this particular report. Wait, I didn't share this report with edit access. Okay, let me open another one so that you can see what I want to say. Let me see this one. Okay. So for instance, I want to copy this particular parts, or maybe edit the data source and everything. So I can just click here and select all of it and copy. And I can paste it to my dashboard. You see, you're about to add this data to this report. And once I paste it, it will appear as it is. I only copied one thing. What do you mean? Okay. either way, that's the concept. You can copy the whole thing and paste it to the other reports, or you can choose to make a copy of that particular report and still edit it. So you have very many options of doing that. And then so when it comes to the type of charts that we have on Looker Studio, this is the only limited thing that we will experience with Looker Studio. It's not as vast as Power BI, because within here we are very limited to the types of charts that we use. So we only have the following charts that have been stated. Let me zoom back. I'm sure there's some people who are not able to see well here. So we only have this number of charts that we can add to our report. As you can see, they are very limited. Power BI has a wider options of charts. So, but if you're just making a simple report or not a bulky report, these options just work well for you. Also, if you are for companies seeking to minimize cost, because this tool is very free, so they tend to opt for this particular type of report, despite them having a challenge with limitations to the number of charts that you can create and the types of charts that you can have on your particular dashboard. And then for the pages, you can always have multiple page on your report. I'm sure if you worked with Power BI, you know you can create multiple pages. As you can see here, we also have two pages already, Spectrum Agents and Solar Campaigns. So we can create multiple pages in our reports. And also you can duplicate a particular page, and you can also set that particular page to have different settings. And then when it comes to the arrangement, you can choose to select, if for instance, you want this, it's not showing the data because it's giving us an error because the data source was messed up with. And so this particular client, I'm no longer working with them, so I cannot fix for them that particular dashboard. But if I wanted to use the arrange, and you see here it's active because we have charts, but here it's not active because we don't have any charts that we can order, we can align or anything. That's why, so here you can just select that option and align those particular charts. Maybe if you want them aligned as to bring them to the front, if you want them behind the dashboard, depending on how you want them to, you can have that options to play with. And then for resource, so this is where we can also add data through this particular feature. You can add data through manage added data source, or you can add data through this particular button over here. So for this one, it gives you an option also to edit your current data source. So as you can see, currently we have two data sources in this particular data. This one came from the chart that I pasted, but if you want to edit it, you can click on edit, and then you are able to, for instance, reconnect means that you are trying to, maybe you made some adjustments on that particular data source. So you want to reconnect that data so that the new updates can be captured in the new data. So for instance, let's see, this one, you can choose also to duplicate the data. You can choose to remove. Let me remove it because I don't need it. You can choose to add a new data source. Adding a new data source will take us to just the previous session that we covered, whereby you can select data from various data sources, be it Microsoft Excel, be it BigQuery, be it SQL. So you have a vast of options. And then, so resource, let me go back to manage added data source. So we can choose to edit our particular data source. So currently we have this data source. So as you can see, we have, this is a list of columns that we have. So in this case, they are referred to dimensions. And you can select the type of data that it is. So you can always come to double check whether they are labeled correctly. For instance, transaction date should be in form of date, so that is correct. Revenue should be in form of number, but no, we want our revenue in this case to be in form of currency. So if you want it to be in form of number, percentage, if it's a time series data, you can choose it to be in duration. If you want it to be in text, you can choose, like you have a variety of options. So in this case, we want our revenue to be in currency form. So let's just select the common currency, which is the USD dollar. And then once you have it, the default aggregation, this is how you want it to appear. For instance, this appears as none because this is a text. We cannot have any aggregation. But for product ID, you can choose it to be sum. You can choose it to be count because it sees this as a number. That's why it gives you that option. For currency, you see it gives you a default aggregation of sum. You can choose to be an average, depending on the kind of visualization that you're doing. And also you can preview your data. So in this case, you can just select drag and drop. For instance, let me try it here. So you can always preview them to see whether they appear correctly. So that's also another advantage. I think I have I have an internet problem. That's why it's taking that long. So you can try that on your own. So let's go back to the options that we have. So we've already covered how we can remove data source, how we can edit data source. We can choose to duplicate. You just click on it and you're able to duplicate. You can make it reusable. Making it reusable means that whenever you create another dashboard, you can still use this particular data source if you want to reuse it. So I'm gonna close this pop-up and then we can go to the next. We can manage blends. Blends in this case means it's like SQL. No, it's not SQL. Sorry, it's what do we call joining? We are joining different tables to be together. I forgot the correction that I should be using, but we are trying to join two tables. So you can always perform that also on Looker Studio. You can join two tables. You can choose either the left, right, inner, full, or cross join. They have all those options. We will come to this later as well. So let me just go back. And then we also have managing filters. I had mentioned a little bit about filters and how we can use them. Manage dimension value colors, manage variables, and all that. And that is it about the interface, those buttons, because this is just a replica of what we've covered. As you can see, you can choose either, to add a page, you can choose either to go to that option and click new page, or you can click on this option and you'll see we will have another page down there. To add data, you can still use this option down here, or still go to the resource and manage and add the data source and still add your data. Blend option as well, you have an icon here that you can easily use. Here you can also select the type of chart that you want to use. This also, the community visualizations will come to it. Controls, these are also, for instance, the date range control. You want to have a date range control or any type of control that you want, or buttons, you can always select them from there. And then here we have Google Studio also allows you to add URLs. So maybe you want to get data from a particular website, you can always have their URL there, and then the data will be appended as well. You can also add image. You can add image by either the URL or you can upload it from your computer. This is the text box where you can always click on it to create, to use it, or maybe give your visualizations are title and everything. So that's it about the Looker Studio interface. Anyone who has a question with the interface? And here you can always get to view your profile. So as you can see, this is my Gmail account. You can always choose to add accounts. You can always choose to sign out. And that's it about the interface. So anyone else with a question regarding the interface? Silence means we're okay. Oh, merging, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. I was supposed to use the term merging. Thank you so much, Aisha. Silence means we are okay to move on. Is that correct? Okay, Aisha. Okay. We have, I'm okay. Thank you. Okay, so we can create a simple report now. Just as simple, we will go deeper into it later. So for instance, here it gives you, well, last time I created a report, I didn't find these updates. So I just noticed these updates. We have a question? Okay. So last time I noticed that, as I was saying, last time I didn't have these two options. Is it on my end? Okay. Let me see what I'll do with my audio. Give me a minute. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay, so we can create a simple dashboard right now. So you can choose a responsive layout or a free form layout. So responsive layout means that when I use this particular dashboard with my phone, as you can see, it's responsive depending on the type of device that I might be using. But however, a free form layout, it means that when I'm on my phone, it will always appear that big because it's not responsive. So in this case, let me just we can create just a freeform layout because it's just a sample that we are doing. And so as you've noticed, once I clicked to create a freeform layout, it's gonna directly create me a table. So this you will always notice, it will always happen. So what you can do, either if you want to have a table in your report, you can choose to edit that particular table, or you can choose to remove it. So let me just remove it for now because we don't need it now. And then I want us to add a text box. Okay. Let me first create it. If you remove it and your what is happening? Okay, let me just add it first. Okay, there we go. So now I added a text box, and now we want this text box maybe to have a name of our report. So in this case, it will be the coffee sales shop. Let me adjust the font so that we can be able to view it well. Oh, sorry, I have not talked about the text properties. So text properties appear when you have a chat on your page. So in this case, you've seen I've added the text box, and now it gives me an option to adjust it using the text properties. So in this case, if I want to adjust the font color, I can just select that. If I want to adjust the font size, I can just select that and click on that particular font size. Let me select it first, and then adjust it. I like black color. Let me just reduce to black. You have to select it before clicking on it, else it won't work sometimes. And then we can align it at the center and make it bold. So This is our, you also have those options to adjust it the way you want. So let's just adjust it. I want it to be our headline for this particular simple report that we are creating. And we can give it, if we scroll down there, you can see you have options. If you want the overflow settings to be visible, padding means how you want it aligned. For instance, if I want it on the right, let me, for instance, select it 36. You see, it moved a little bit. And then if you want it on top, for instance, let me select 48. You see, it moved down. But now I don't want it on top. I want it at least in the middle. So I'm gonna find a balance where it will be quite in the middle. I think that's better. And then we can change the background color. In this case, maybe you can select which color. Let me go with this particular color. That's too bright. Maybe that one. And then you can choose the border color if you want it. Opacity means how you want it visible. You see it's changing. So it depends on the shade of that particular color that you want. And then the border color, I've mentioned it. The border radius is if you want it quite round shaped. Let me just show you. As you can see, it has changed. It appeared a little bit different. So the border weight, if you want it to have a weight, if you want it to have a shadow, as you can see, there've been that small change. So you can always play around until you get what you want. So, and then we can choose maybe to add a scorecard in this case. So you have the option of coming to add a chart, or you have the option of going to insert, and then you're gonna have to look for its scorecard. So the best way is just to click there and select it from there because it's easy to get it from there. And then you can just adjust it the way you want. So there we have. As you can see now, every chart have their own property. If you remember, this one was text property. Now we are on scorecard property. So on scorecard now, we have different things. We have the setup and we have the style. On the text, we only have that particular property. So the setup means that we want to set this particular scorecard. We want it to reflect what do you want it to display? Because right now, by default, it will always give you a record count. But now we want it to display the revenue. So I'm gonna click on, sorry, I rushed there. First of all, we need to double check. The data source, is it in the correct data source? As you can see, it's in the correct data source that we want to use, which is the coffee shop. The dimension, in this case, the revenue is not a dimension. Dimension, in this case, dimension means category. So a dimension would be something like store location. Let me try to change to store location. You will see it's giving us a count, which is not correct. But if I select there, dimension, you see it's giving us something different. But now I want it in metric because I want to display the revenue, the total revenue for this particular shop. As you can see, by default, it's gave me a sum. And then you see this small pencil, you can always click on it and then edit the display name. For now, you can see we have the revenue as the display name. So we can edit the display name to total revenue. And that's it. And then another thing, we can always as well change the data type in this particular scorecard by selecting this data type and changing it, whether you want it back as a number, as a currency. But I love doing it in the main data source because when you do it in the main data source, it will be applied to the whole report. But if you do it on a particular scorecard, it will only be applied to that particular scorecard. So it means whenever you have to use that particular field anywhere else, you will always have to change it manually. And then the display format, we want to tell this report, do we want to view it in 2 decimal places? For instance, right now we see we have this amount with two decimal places. Do we want this displayed like that, or do we want it displayed as just a whole number? So I selected a whole number. And then the aggregation here, do we want it as a sum? Do we want it as an average? So you can always still select it again here. And then if you want to do a comparison, well, I've never used this, but you can explore it on your own. So, so now we've selected our total revenue. As I mentioned, you can always add a filter. If you want maybe to have this particular total revenue referred to a particular store location, you can always add that particular filter. And that filter in this case will only be applied to this particular scorecard. It won't be applied to the whole report. So if you want it to be applied to the whole report, you can as well use this option to add a quick filter, and it will be applied to the whole report. But if you add a filter to a scorecard, it will only be, or any chart, it will only be applied to that particular chart. Okay. And then we have the date range dimension. So we, by default, the only date that we had in our report is the transaction date. So by default, it already used that transaction date. But if we had another date, we could just have clicked there. You see, we are not getting any other field because our data only has the transaction date. But if we had any other, it will have appeared here, and we would have selected it. So that's it about the setup for this particular scorecard. So now we can go ahead and style it. So for us to style it, the chart title, if I show the chart title, it means that you see, I have an option maybe to add maybe total revenue for this particular store, or maybe you can, or sometimes you can show this title, or if you don't want to use the scorecard name, you can always use the title. So in this case, since I already updated the scorecard name, I don't want to show the title. It's best to show the titles when handling other types of charts like table, and others. But for scorecard, you can choose the title, or you can choose to show the total revenue. But you can as well hide that particular label. As you can see here, we have a hide field name. So if I choose to hide this field name, you see it disappeared. So it means that I'm left with the title. So you can always choose the one you want to work with. If you want to work with a field name or a chart title. But the benefits of working with a chart title is that whenever the data source is updated, the chart title will always remain the same. However, whenever you update this particular field name or that particular field, for instance, revenue, I update it to maybe, let me reload this and try to update it so that you can see the difference. I update it to maybe total revenue on the data source. You will find that it will not capture that. It might fail to capture the correct title that I wanted, so you'll always have to redo it. But using the title will always be a safe place if you don't want that redundant work of renaming your titles. So for now, let me just hide the title and use the field name. And then, so missing data. So sometimes in our data, sometimes you can find that we have some missing values. And so if you have a missing values, or maybe a report for a particular date has not been updated, so how do you want those data displayed? So you can choose them to be displayed as 0 or with that particular sign, or null, or just leave it blank. So depending on the style that you want it represented on your data. And then now the labels, now we can, okay, did I hide the name again? Let me just, oh, I hid it. Okay, let me just do it. So the labels, you can always adjust the size. For instance, you can see right now, if I adjust the size, you are able to see it's being replicated. So let's maintain it at 36, and then you can always choose the font color as you want. Also, you can always update. For instance, you want the name to be centered. As you can see, it has been centered. If you want the field name, also the field value to be centered, you can always play around with that. The padding, I already talked about this, how you can play around with them. And then you can always as well update the background color. Let's say maybe you want it that particular gray. You can always play around as well with the border options and that's it. So that's all about the scorecard. So you can always easily add it to your report and customize it as you want. So for instance, now maybe we want to add another chart. In this case, maybe we want to add a table. The good thing we have, you can add a table. We have a variety of tables that you can choose from. You can choose either table with bars or table with a heat map, or you can scroll down again and select a pivot table. So we have variety of options that you can select from. So let me just select a simple table, for instance, this one, and add it over there. So by default, it will always have the record count. Okay, it had the revenue by now because I already used the revenue. So let me just expand it a little bit. So in our table, as you can see, we now have the table properties. So the data source is still our coffee sales shop because we want this is the currently only data set in this particular report. And then the dimension. So the dimension here, as I mentioned earlier, dimension refers to you can choose either to the categories, sorry. So in this case, we want the dimension to be transaction date. We want to have the date. And then we want to have the store location. So we can have those particular those two. And then we want now the revenue. So that we see each store by date, the revenue that they made by that particular date. So let me just adjust it a little bit. As you can see, it picked up the name that we have, the column name that we have on our particular Google Sheet. So, and because I don't want it to appear like that, I always have to adjust it. So in this case, we can adjust it to store location. And that's it. And then when you scroll down, the metric, we want to see the revenue that this particular store accumulated during that particular transaction date. We can also have maybe, what do we see? Transaction quantity. How many transactions were done on that particular date? So you can always also have, so if you want to add more metrics, you can always add them. This depends on how you want to visualize your data. So they're currently small. I know you might be struggling, but don't worry, we are going to fix it in a few. And then if you want to have optional metrics, you can always add them. And you can always feel free to play around with them also when you try to make your reports. As I mentioned, I already talked about the filters, the date range dimension. I already talked about this. So by default, as you can see, it has already selected it to transaction date. And then the number of rows. So you can always choose the pagination of the top. So this one, it depends with what you want. So the top, it means like maybe you want only the top 10 rows to be displayed, or the top 5. So maybe you are making about, you're making a report about, maybe we want maybe to have to view the top 5 locations that corrected the most revenue. So you can always customize using that. And also down here, you can see that we have the sort option. So we don't want it sorted, but if you want it sorted by revenue, so in this case, you can always sort it by revenue and then select maybe the top 5. So in this case, you should be able to view the top 5. You see, it adjusted. So the top 5 stores by revenue. So as you can see, these had the highest revenue. But in this case, we just want the whole data displayed. And we don't want it sorted by revenue. We want it sorted by date, transaction date, because we want the date to be flowing well. And also you can always add a secondary sort. So in this case, maybe you can add now the revenue as you wish. And then now we can move to the style. So on the style, now this is where you can choose to showcase the chart title. So in this case, we can give it a title. By default, it gives you a particular title depending on the what do you call, the fields that you selected. So for instance, in this case, you can see coffee sales shop table. So this one, it has given me that by default, since it has picked that from the title of, or from the data source, so from the title of the data source. So you can see it's coffee sales shop table. So I want it to be coffee sales by location, something like that. So you can always adjust it the way you want. And then you can always adjust the size again, 30. So that is, we are only dealing with the chart title. So that's what has been adjusted. We can choose to bolden it and align it correctly. Now, when it comes to conditional formatting, let me first adjust the numbers so that you are able to view, and then we can use the conditional formatting. So the header now, this refers to the transaction date, store location, and revenue. We can always also adjust them and select them as you want. Let's rename this because I don't like that particular name, transaction quantity. So we can just rename that to transaction quantity. And then let's paste them out well. Okay. Okay, we are gonna adjust them, don't worry. So let's go back to style. Where were we? We were here on the header. So when I select wrap text, it means, as you can see right now, our table, it's not showing complete values. Like you can see transaction quantity is not clear unless we hover around it. That's when we will know that it's transaction quantity. But if I choose to wrap text, as you can see, it ensures that everything fits on that particular table or on that particular row or column. So as you can see, this has been adjusted correctly. Let me reduce the font size a little bit, maybe to 20. And then now the table labels, now we're going to adjust the table labels. So in this case, we can select them at 16. You see, they increased a little bit. I see they're still quite small. So let me add them just to 20. Yeah. So from there, then you can adjust the table colors if you want. If you want the row numbers to be shown, as you can see right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to hide them, you can do that as well. If you want, like, you can always just play around with it. If you want also the tables to be wrapped up, you can always just select that. So depending on how you want to be, if you want the dimensions to be centered, also you can always choose that. But I noticed of late this function is not working. I'm not sure why. And then now for the metrics, this refers to the number of columns that we have. For instance, like this, if I make any adjustment, it will be applied to that particular metric that has been labeled as metric 1. So in this case, we have metric 1 is revenue and metric 2 is transaction quantity. So you see, if I make any change, it applies to that particular metric that I'm dealing with. So in this case, we can just center them. And then the background and border color as well, we've already gone through that. So I want us to go through the conditional formatting. Just the same way you can do conditional formatting in a particular data set on Excel or Google Sheet, you can also do conditional formatting on Looker Studio. So you can just click on add formatting, and then you can select by single color or by color scale. So I love using the single color because it gives you that option of selecting the color that you want. In this case, maybe, so we want to select maybe revenue or maybe transaction quantity. And we want to say that for those stores that we want to select a, what do you call, a condition. So transaction quantity, if it's less than 2 or maybe 3, let me just say 2, it should, and then it should apply to that particular row only, transaction quantity. If they are less than 2, then it means that this store underperformed. They didn't meet the target. Maybe the target is said to be around 3 or 5. So I'm telling it that if they didn't meet 2, so we are giving them that particular, they should be in red. So we're gonna save, and well, 2 was little. So let me adjust that so that we see how it will be applied. So let me just select maybe transaction less than 600. Well, you can choose to save. If you have other, what do you call, other rules that you want to set, you can click on save and add other so that you are able to add another set of rules. But in this case, I just want to add that one particular rule. So as you can see, it has been highlighted. So you're able to see that particular highlights on the stores that did not meet that particular target. Also, you are able to add conditional formatting to scorecards. As you can see, we have that particular conditional formatting. So you can tell it maybe if the revenue is less than or greater than this amount, then it should display this color, and that will be followed. So up to there, any question on what we've covered so far? Guys, any question?
Questions? No questions. I'm following.
Okay. So I want to finish quick because I see my battery is 25%. Today they were doing a maintenance in my location, so we didn't have power the whole day. So I just saved my laptop to ensure that I am able to at least cover some parts in this class. So so far we've covered chart options, we've covered the table properties, chart properties. So let me cover, because the charts will always be the same. Do you have a question? Okay, no. The charts will always be the same. So I want us to add control to this particular report so that we are able to see how controls function. So in this case, let me select date range control because we want to see how it works. So let me just put it there. So as you can see, we have a select date range. So in this date range, you can choose to select maybe the dates that you want this particular report to be focused on. As you can see from our data source, most of the data was on 2023. So I'm just gonna select 2023 and maybe from Jan 1st. And then I'm gonna select 2023 as well, maybe deck. And then let me scroll down. Okay. I was supposed to scroll down so that I click apply. So let me just redo that. Jan 1st. Let me minimize this so that we are able to see that option. You see, here it is. So up to 2023, December 31st, apply. So as you can see, this has given me the date range. As you can see, is it on my end? Okay. So you can always select the date range according to you, how you want it to be. You can always have a fixed. For instance, like this one, I want it to be fixed because this data set is for 2023. But you can always fix it. Maybe you want, whenever this person opens this particular report, the data source that he sees or the charts that are only able to visualize reports for that particular day. Or if it's maybe an sales performance report, you can always select it to yesterday because they want to see how they performed yesterday. So it depends with the client that you're dealing with, or maybe the type of report that you're creating, so that you're able to select that particular date range that you want. And also you can still as well adjust the font colors as well as you want. In this case, I like the black, so you can always as well play around with the background, so you can select that one. So it's just the same concepts. Once you understand how to drag charts, how to style them, how to set them up, that's all you need for Looker Studio. Once you have that particular information, you already know Looker Studio. So I'd wish to stop from there today, and we can continue next next time, because I see even my audio is misbehaving, because wherever I am, I'm quite in a noisy place. I had to go somewhere to charge my laptop because we didn't have enough power. So I hope you guys have understood. I hope I've not rushed you. I hope my accent was not too strong for you to not understand. Yeah, I would like to take questions now. Is it possible to interact with the dashboard in real time, even though they don't have the data sets? Google Sheets. David, can you please explain your question a little bit? David, are you here? Well, I will answer it depending on my perspective, because with Google Sheets, you will always interact with that particular dashboard in real time.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I was kind of concentrating in the sense that, let's say you want to share your okay, give me a minute. Let's say you want to share a particular dashboard with someone else that doesn't have the Google Sheet, due to whatever reason. And you mentioned earlier that one good thing about local is, and if you're taking if you're taking your data from like a Google Sheet, it refreshes in real time. So say the person you're sending it to doesn't have that Google Sheet with them, just want to stay in the dashboard. So they can just have a look of the performance or whatever it is you are showing on the dashboard. Will it also refresh in real time, even though the person doesn't have the data set? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I get what you're saying. So if they only have the view access, they will be able to view it in real time. They will only need access to that particular Google Sheet if they also need to edit the Looker Studio report, because you cannot edit Looker Studio report. Maybe they want to make some changes on the datasets as well, but they will need access to make change to that particular dataset. But if they are just viewers viewing your dashboard, they will be able to see all the changes that you have made on that particular Google Sheets. All they need to do is to refresh the Looker Studio, and it takes around 5 to 10 minutes for the data to be updated in real time. So they only need to refresh. I hope that answers your question, David. Okay, thank you. Anyone else with a question? Also, if you make changes to if for instance you uploaded maybe it's a Microsoft Excel sheet, you can always go back and reconnect the data. Once you reconnect that particular data, then the changes will be updated. But however, I prefer using the Google Sheet because I don't have to go through that hassle of reconnecting the data once again. I just want, when I update it, that's it. They only need to refresh the dashboard, and that would be it. So anyone else with a question? Are we all good? Yes, Onyinye.
Hello, good evening. So
Good evening.
I wanted to know if the Lucas studio can be accessed locally or must it be online.
Sorry, through what?
If the Lucas studio can be accessed locally, like you can install the application, or must it be accessed online, like you must use data to access it.
Well, that tells me that when you came into our class late. However, as I mentioned with Google, with Lucas Studio, you don't need to install any. You don't need to install any software or download any application. It's a web-based software, so you only need to sign in with your Google account, and that will be it. So you don't need to install anything. I hope that answers your question. Onyinye, are we good? How do we save our work? Okay. Okay, thank you. Aisha, anything you do on Lucas Studio, it's automatically saved. That's why we have the, what did we call it? Let me just double check. We have the version history. So if maybe you made an update that you didn't want to do, you can always use the undo update, undo button, or check the version history and reload it back to the previous version history. So it's in real time. So any change you make, even maybe for instance, your client was using that particular dashboard and then you start making changes, they will automatically see that change. So you don't need to save it anywhere. It's on your Google Drive because you sign in with your Google Drive, with your Google account. So everything is saved on your Google Drive. Okay. Anyone else with a question? Okay, then I guess we are good to go. I guess I can see you on the next class, guys. But I will share the PDF file that I had created as a guide. And then you guys can create, I will also give you a simple project to complete within the week, so that when we meet on our class, which is next, I think it's on Saturday. So at least you guys will be able to show me what you've done or the progress that you have with your dashboard, so that and if you have any questions, you are able to ask. So I want you guys to practice so that when you come back with those questions, I want the next class to be interactive. It's not just me talking, it's not just me teaching. No, I want you also to tell me what you discovered with Lucas Studio, what you learned, any challenges you faced, so that we can all grow together, okay? Okay, I guess that will be it for today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to listen to me. I bet you can have a great day. Take it back to you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for the wonderful class. I enjoyed the class so much. It was really insightful. I want to hear from others. How was the class? Okay. How was it? Hello.
Actually, guys, I forgot to mention, I have never been a tutor, so I'd really appreciate your feedback on where I can improve, what I can do better, if I was too fast, so that at least next class I can do better, guys. So I really need that feedback.
Okay, so I want everyone to go to on the group and type how the class was, okay? Type how the class was. Is that fine? Is that fine, everyone?
Yes, yes, yes. It's fine.
Okay, great. So have a wonderful day. Keep practicing. Please write your feedback. Elizabeth would love to know how the class was, okay? So thank you for joining. Don't forget everything you're supposed to submit tomorrow. Look out for your assignments for Lucas Studio, okay? So have a good day and Bye-bye.